Hey guys, what's up? This is Val for Dreamlight, and I'm gonna do a quick video here on the quick Iray fog presets, and I'm also gonna share with you some of the cool techniques you can use to bypass the limitations and really start creating awesome fog effects. And that's gonna be done using Dash Studio, but also with a little bit of help of Photoshop. We can of course use any type of 2D software for this, including the free GIMP. So first of all, when you have it installed, you can find this new preset system here, Dash Studio Formats, My Dash Library, Light Presets, Dreamlight, Iray, Quick Iray Fog Presets. All right. And in here, you've got two loading icons, one of which is the Quick Iray Fog Presets main Iray preset. This is what I suggest you start with. Before you start adding these will not have the full effect unless you have this one first, so use this first. Now sometimes when you start Dash Studio, or if you are in the middle of something and you go in your render setting doesn't show tone mapping options or the environment subtab here, as you can see these are missing here right now. Okay, and if you go to the scene tab, they are no present here in the scene either. So you can do this manually, of course. You can create new environment options node and new tone mapping or tone mapper options node. You can do that manually here, or just click load if missing. So if you load that, they're going to show up here, tone mapping and environment subtab of the render settings. And now if you switch over to the scene tab, you can also see them right here. All right, so that's that. Now next, you can either load a prop first or load the fog first and then add the prop later. I'm going to load the prop first. I'm going to go to, let's go to props. And I'm going to choose a stone wasting prop for the first time in my life. Of course, I'm kidding. So I'm just going to choose a really simple one, which is the Ministry. One of my favorite stone wasting props ever. And I'm gonna just, you don't have to, like I said, load the prop first. You can load the fog first, but I'm just loading it this way. So when you have it, installed, you can then go back to Light Presets, Dreamlight Iray, Quick. Oh my gosh, I've done some stuff in the past, right? Jeez, man. All right. So as soon as you hit this render, double click this render thing here, and you switch over to NVIDIA Iray, it's ready to render. Now, this is interior, all right? This is interior, which means it's gonna behave slightly differently than outdoor. Indoor, you don't have the sunshine coming through. As part of this set, the sunshine has been designed to create some cool low light conditions and shadows and all that, and beam effects, and that's not present when you just render through this view here, because it's partially obstructed from the top, right? However, sometimes when you are indoors, even outdoors for that matter, the scene becomes a little bit dark. Could be that the light is obstructed, like in this case, or it could be that the fog is very thick and starts to obstruct it itself. That's when you have these control icons. I'm going to cover them one by one. First of all, you got some depth fog effects. The one that loads by default is the ground fog number 1. Okay, and you can at any time switch to any of these. So when you click on them, it adds different fog effect to the scene, all right, and so forth. I'm gonna show them more in an open area in a moment. And then you've got tint, which changes everything. It changes the environment light, it changes the fog light, and it changes the ground fog and the depth fog. Everything becomes tinted. So you can quickly just, get a cool mood for your scene, including the hell one, the red. All right, white is default. All right, then you've got sun rotation, which I'm going to cover in depth in a moment when you have an outdoor scene. But here, what's important now is to use intensity. All right, it's very easy. We are indoors. Well, let's crank up the intensity. You add that and everything becomes a little bit brighter. All right. That's very useful indoors. You can go crank it up to 250. All right, 100 being default. Then you got contrast, which I'm going to cover a little bit more in depth when you're using outdoor scenes. Now, that was, covering some of the basics. Let me load a different stonemason set. Next, I'm going to load an older prop on purpose, because I want to show you something that can be missing at times. I'm going to load Streets of Asia 2, which is also an older prop from stonemason. And this one, when you load this one and look through Iray, you don't see, well, nothing, right? Why? Well, some of the older props have something called a sky dome included, like here. You can either look it up in the scene tab or use node selection, aim the camera at the sky and click on it. All right. Older props that don't use Iray had a sphere surrounding the scene, often called sky or sky dome or background or whatever, and that was then used to lit the scenes, right? Well, we don't need that, or we cannot use it in Iray, so we're going to just right click on it and choose delete. Immediately the sun comes through and we are back in business. All right. So here we now have the fog entering the scene, and I'm going to just pull the camera down a little bit. All right. And basically, as you're setting this up, you've got now, I'm not going to cover the other options we had, right? So I'm going to go back, light presets. And why I'm doing this a little more advanced, instead of just showing you click this and everything is dandy, is because everything is not dandy. You will load this indoors. You will accidentally load all the props and have the sky turn out dark. That's why I'm starting from that end, instead of just showing you, hey, look how easy it is, just click here and everything is perfect, right? It's not always the case. All right, so back in here, quick again, quick. All right, so depth fog is the fog that kind of creates a little bit distance fog, so to speak. It's not on the ground per se, it's more like in the distant. And this is great if you want to have some depth in your scenes. And these presets will quickly get you there with different intensities. These are awesome. Now, why they are separated, depth and ground, is because you cannot mix them. There is a limitation, and if you were to add them both, they can create some artifacts. All right. So at any time you can tint the scene, and like I said, everything becomes tinted. The fog, the sky, the light, all that becomes tinted, right? Cool. All right. Now, ground fog is my favorite, of course. It's really cool. You just click on it and instantly your scene is where you want it to be. You got different versions here, and the lighting, like I said, this thing is rotated the way stonemason designed it. North is actually to the right here, so the light comes at an awkward angle in this particular scene, but that's why you have these here, so you can at any time change which direction the sun comes through. All right, and you can get different effects instantly. And what I should suggest is that you don't light everything up, and especially not from the front. It's best to keep the fog a little bit mysterious and a little bit from the side. So in this case, I would just make the light come at an angle here. And create some mystery, some rays coming through the scene. All right. So I can just turn it around. So look at it from this direction. And light is part of the mystery, so it's very important that you use light and change it and use different angles, because fog effects will never look good when lit directly from the front or if there's too much light. So I designed this in a specific way. As you can see, it starts to create really cool effects now, long, nice ray effects and so that, foggy effects, right? I did this on purpose. I know that low light will create those. So then you can just turn quickly and see what that kind of, well, what sticks with your scene, right? What works for your particular set. At any time, if your scene does not work for some reason, some scenes have a little bit, maybe too much stuff going on, so light cannot enter properly, you can always raise the sun. You just go in here and just raise it up, right? Change the time so you get a more daytime, straight from the top thing. But be aware that when doing so, you might kill the fog effect. All right, that's that. So let's go back. All right, so the ground fog completely covers your scene at this stage here, and it becomes very thick. And in those cases, light does not enter as easily, and that's why you have intensity. We covered that already, right? Cool. Now, you also have a more intense ground fog, a more subtle ground fog, and you have this fantasy style fog effect as well that have dual color effects. These are really cool. They come in two intensities as well, and these will really help you create almost surreal look for your renders. These are really cool. And always at any time you can tint everything on top of what you're seeing here, right? So if you want more cyberpunk style, you can add that on top of the dual color scale going on. All right, and just tint everything. So you can end up having really cool fantasy style effects. All right. So contrast is default, which we have right now. You can go black and white, a little more intense, and high color for a little more punch color-wise, and of course default. All right, so that we have now covered the basics. I'm gonna load a different stonemason set. What is it with me, a stonemason, right? Well, gotta love the dude and his amazing props, that's for sure. So back to props and stonemason, and I want to look one of his latest, Mystic George, and load. All right. So the thing with fog is that let me just, by the way, just add my own. This one adds some specific stonemason stuff here, so I don't want to use that. I want to go in here and load my own set. There we go. So as you can see, it works for any scene. It's instant and it just looks amazing, right? So I designed it to be really cool and have that touch of mystery at the same time. So, but the thing is, you know, quite often when you create fog effects, you want to maybe have some kind of stuff going on in one portion of your image, and maybe something else going on in a different part of the image, because right now you're kind of limited to just using presets here that all look good, but they are what they are and there is nothing more to it, right? What if you could just mix and match? You got the insane cool depth fog here as well. What if we just could mix and match between these two and create effects that have everything? Well, that's where you can start really mixing and have fun, and you do that by using multiple rendering. Okay, so instead of just using one render, you pick what looks good here in depth and say, hey, I like this, cool, maybe we can tint, Great. Make the render. All right, make the render. So you go ahead and render this and save it. And then you go back and say, hey, I like the ground fog. Maybe this one or this one. And you like that one too, right? And say, hey, let's render this. Perfect. Go ahead and do that. Next, you load both of these images inside Photoshop. All right, let's do that. And just stop rendering wireframe. So I have already, of course, pre-made some of the renders you're gonna see now. One of which is gonna be the one you just saw a second ago while we were inside Dash Studio, right? The one with the ground fog. And I'm just gonna load, basically, I'm gonna just load 2 fog renders. One which has the ground fog, and one, this is the, I think this is a ground fog. And no, this is the ground fog, and this is a more intense ground fog. All right. So we can also mix and match different settings of the same fog. And now instead of just being limited to either this or this, you can actually mix these two together. And the result will look like this. Let me just show you that. Because I have it already done here. I have already mixed that. So let's go ahead and can't recall which one it was. I think it was this one. All right, so you can see that they are both now mixed, and you get one of them creating this nice ray here at the bottom. Then you have the other one on top, and they both start to breathe. They are not just static. As you can see here, there's no definition here. Here you can see definition and variation and changes. So the way I've created this, let me just show you that. You take this one, Control A, Control C, Control A to select all, Control C to copy, use Command in a Mac. Then go to this render and Control V to paste. So now you have everything. Well, you have one of them at the bottom, one of them at the top, so to speak, here. And at the bottom here, I'm going to click here to create a mask. And then you can fill that mask, use white and black, with render clouds. That then immediately shines through, as you can see, and you can see them both at the same time. Now, it's a little bit too intense as of now, so what I'm going to do is change the black here to mid-gray, and then do the same thing, render clouds. All right, and that's it, pretty much it. We are shining through one of the renders over the other, and it's really, really cool and very, very dramatic. What you also can do is, if I just load another render, let me just show you that. Here I've got a render which is without any fog. All right, so this is no fog at all. And what you basically can do with that is you can, let me just show you that. You can put it on top and throw in a mask again, and then use black to paint in where you want the fog to be. All right, so you're painting where you want the fog to be, and it's not going to be elsewhere. So this is what you can do with it. It's really, really powerful. It's almost shocking, right? You can just paint the fog in. Hey, I want my fog effects to go here and not just limit there. You can maybe use a half see-through or whatever, and start really painting and designing your fog effects. And if you want to go vice versa, you can just change the color to white and just start removing the fog here instead. And you can create some really, really dramatic and exceptional fog effects in seconds, guys. In seconds. It goes really fast, all right? So let me show you a little bit more advanced example. Again, featuring a stonemason prop. So one of the, let me show you 3 renders I did. I'm not sure I used any 3. I just think I used these 3 in the mix. So I did one render with a depth fog. All right. One render with the pretty intense ground fog and one runner with a pretty low ground fog. It's the same camera, obviously. And when I mixed them together, it ended like that. Forest. It ends like this. So it's a little bit of combination of both, actually. And it looks pretty dramatic, right? It looks pretty dramatic, and that's what you can do with these effects. So let me show you how this is done. Let me close this. I'm gonna ignore this one for now and just use this one and this one. All right, so I'm gonna put this one on top again. Then I'm gonna add some variation to it. So I'm gonna add that mask. Use mid gray and create clouds that immediately add some variation to the fog at the top. But you also see that it starts to eat up the ground fog, so to speak, right? Here's where the two collide, so to speak. And what you can do about it is you can right click here and choose add mask to collection. I'm not sure why that didn't work out. Let me try again. Sorry, apply layer mask. Wrong button. Okay. Now you click here to create an additional mask. So the other mask we just had becomes kind of burned into the image or added to the image for good. And now you're adding a new mask, and you can use black and white and ingredient. Hold down Shift and just say, hey, I want to go from here and here, and just you just select where that effect goes. It's that simple. And if you want to put it away from this large stem here, you can select black color while on the mask, obviously. All right, maybe choose a little bit smaller size and opacity maybe 10, and then start to remove the fog from this large tree. I have the wrong color, black, sorry. See what I'm doing? I'm darkening this large stem while keeping the background intact. So now I can really start painting in exactly where the fog goes and where it doesn't go. And you can have full control over the image, every single pixel. How does the fog behave down here? How does it behave down here? How does it behave up here or in this corner? All right. And when you're done, I usually apply my own filters. I have one filter in my jazz store, which is called the Magic filter. Let me just quickly add that. Let's just minimize the effect a little bit. Maybe go like this. And then we're going to jump into camera. And in camera, I don't do so much, but one of the most important things ever is to use vignetting. That just tones the edges and pulls attention towards the center of the image. All right, and you can always play with contrast if you want, or exposure, or playing with whites and so forth. So there's a lot of things you can play with here afterwards to fine-tune the image just the way you like it. And as you can see, it doesn't take long. It takes a few minutes to create spectacular effects that are fun to create, that you have full control over. You're not limited by the settings inside Dash Studio. You can bypass them or use them to your advantage. So let me show you, let's go back to Dash Studio. I'm going to show you one more thing. When we are here, and let's go back to the set we had originally, which is the stonemason. Just load it here real quick. Props, stonemason, and it's called I can't find it. The ministry prop. Let me show you what to do here when you are indoors and you are limited by how the sunshine gets into your prop, or in this case does not get into your prop, right? So let's just add the fog, So light presets, Dreamlight Iray, quick, and just add it. And we're gonna use a ground fog number 2 or number 3 maybe, the more intense. But how do we make the rays here? Well, obviously it doesn't matter now how I rotate the sun, because it will not enter the room, because it's you know, it has the wrong angle. So in this case I would just, you know, throw in a different angle that enables me to enter the room. I think I have it too much angle. Let's go for 1300. And remember to always enter through not from the front, but more towards the camera or from the side. All right, so that you use side lighting or backlighting, and don't light the fog from the front. So I'm not entirely happy with this angle. Let's try a different one. Let's use, it's pretty good though, right? Yeah, it's pretty good. We can see it. It's nice. So now we can see that ray effect happening because well, we have a different angle now of the sun entering through the windows. Now, a thing you can do in particular with this prop is to go to the ceiling or roof and check the surfaces. These have something called window, and the windows have a kind of, well, dirty looking texture that prevent them to work properly. And you can, in this case, adjust the opacity to let more of the light through, which means that you will get overall more light enter the set. All right, and remember this beam here, you see, it will not be visible so much when you have a lower ground fog. When you have just the lower ground fog, you will not see so much of the beam. It's down here, right? You have to have more of the fog to enter the room for that beam to be visible. All right, cool. So guys, that is pretty much it. We covered just the the basics, and also the importance of mixing things further inside Photoshop. And with that said, we are done with this video. Thank you so much for watching. Go ahead now, enjoy your foggy renders, and I see you soon again.